we only have a couple of kids, which we're very grateful for. Thank you, sir. When it comes down to when it comes to trivia, I think what we'll do is we'll alternate between slightly kid-friendly questions and more baffling ones. We'll make it up as we go, so hopefully we'll have a good time. So to start out, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I got to be a Star Wars author, a little bit about what that's like, and then we'll do trivia, and then we'll take questions, and then we'll sign some books. So here we go. First of all, thank you, all of you, for coming out. And you know, I was telling James, this is like day 8 of the Attack of the Authors West Coast book tour, and we've gone from Portland to Seattle to Berkeley, California, to now 3 stops down here. My good friend and Essential Atlas co-author Dan Wallace, meanwhile, was in Arizona, and he gets to go to Vegas, which I don't know why they thought I shouldn't go to Vegas, but I don't know. Maybe they had, maybe that was wise, but we'll see.
Is that where 3PO is?
Huh?
Is that where the 3PO is?
Where's 3PO?
Possibly.
He's in Vegas.
Vegas.
Need the odds.
Having people yank on his arm. So, I mean, this has been an enormous amount of fun, and, you know, there's so many reasons that I love being a DK author, and you know, one of them is that, hey, they say, hey, would you like to go to the West Coast, going to all these bookstores and meeting fans, to which I say, yes, I very much would, that'd be awesome. But beyond that, you know, they make really great books. I always tell people you can tell a DK book by picking it up. It has a style, there's a real clarity to the information, it's just a beautiful book to hold and look and learn from. And you know, that's true of Star Wars, but that's also true of other books. I mean, I have a son who's 9 years old, and I love getting books for him from DK, whether it's on, you know, Vikings or the Civil War, baseball, or whatever they have. Just terrific books from every walk of this galaxy, as well as ones far, far away. So, huge thank you on my part for DK for making it possible for me to be here. So, being a Star Wars author, I mean, the way I started out as a Star Wars author was by being a Star Wars fan. I was 8 years old in 1977, and, you know, probably like some of you, you know, went to see a movie that was getting good reviews and people were saying they like it, but we didn't know any more about that, and Princess Leia's ship comes over the screen, and I was like, that's pretty cool, and then Darth Vader's ship comes over the screen and keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming, and you know, by the time we saw the engines of that thing, I was hooked, and I never gave up being a fan after that. The other thing I loved to do when I was a kid was I was always writing stories, you know, making up little things, whether it was poems or stories or, you know, little plays or whatever, and any time I could get some paper, you know, from my mother was a professor, and she would have these little blue square course books, which I don't know if they still use anymore, but you know, she would bring me like bundles of those, and I would just write stuff out endlessly. And along the way, I became a professional journalist. I worked for the Wall Street Journal for nearly 13 years, and became a professional writer. But I never stopped being a Star Wars fan. And I obviously saw the movies, but also, you know, followed on the expanded universe and just also the role-playing games. I just loved all the information and everything that made this galaxy seem bigger and more populated and all of that. My first chance to write Star Wars professionally was in 1999, and the Insider was looking for a book columnist, and they asked if I would do it, and I said sure. And the first one was the New Jedi Order, and having Bob Salvador explain what it was like being the guy who killed Chewbacca. So you know, we were off immediately, you know, with a bang. And I worked for the Insider, and they liked my work. I did a role-playing game supplement for Wizards of the Coast. It was Coruscant: The Core Worlds. I was one of 6 authors on that. And then in, I think it was 2008, a couple things happened that were really exciting. See if we can. We're in the bookstore, we may as well do props, right? They told me about the Clone Wars show coming out, and they said, we want to do this visual guide for it. You know, would you be interested in doing that? And I was like, a Star Wars book with my name on it, and I get to know more about this mysterious show? Yeah, I would like to do that. That would be pretty awesome. So, you know, really, how many of you guys know this book? But, you know, this is a great book for kids, and it's a great introduction to the show. And what's interesting about this kind of book is, like, this arrived. This arrived pretty much with all the art in place, and then, but just all the text would be this sort of pig Latin, this kind of fake Latin, just so you can see how the book's supposed to fit together. So it's my job to just go literally, like every one of these is a little file, and go step by step, and fill it in. And that's one way these books work. In other cases, really depending on the project, like sometimes the starting point will be, they'll come to me and they'll be like, hey, we're doing, like in some of the later Clone Wars visual guides, it was like, hey, we're doing season 3, you know, here's the episode list, you know, help us come up with every spread in the book, and let's do it that way. But it's an interesting way to work, first of all, because, you know, I'm the guy who gets to have my name on the spine and on the cover, which, I mean, is fantastic. It's a dream come true, but it's really, in some ways, it's not particularly fair that that's the way it works. Like, by looking at the acknowledgments, you get a much better sense of a book. I mean, there's so many designers, artists, editors, people at Lucasfilm, etc., without whom this book would not exist. And, you know, the man or the woman with his or her name on the cover is, you know, it's just literally like being the tip of the iceberg. The other thing that's fascinating about it is that, you know, most of the people, in fact, nobody I worked with on this book until I went on book tour I'd ever met, and they were, nearly all of them were in England. And so a lot of these, you know, Dan Wallace, my Essential Atlas co-author, and I had never met before the book was done. And our map maker for the Essential Atlas, Modi, turned out to be a 16-year-old kid who lived in Hungary. We brought him on as an expert because he had made these beautiful maps, and you know, he was one of the like 5 biggest map geeks in the world about Star Wars. There was me, Dan, and Pablo Hidalgo and Leland Chi at Lucasfilm, and Modi, and that was pretty much it. And plus Modi could make these gorgeous maps, and we, you know, asked him, would you consult with us and help us with this project? He was like, sure. And then we were like, can we use your maps as first drafts for some other artist? And he was like, sure. And then we were like, your maps are better than any artist we could get. Can we just use your maps? And he was like, sure. But he was like, I probably should have told you this before, but I'm 16 years old and I'm in high school in Hungary. So, you know, so that book was actually affected because, you know, Modi would have finals, so he wouldn't be able to work for like 3 weeks, and we'd be like, well, sorry, Del Rey Lucasfilm, but we're going to have to wait for our map maker because we don't want him to fail calculus. But, you know, it's a funny story, but to Lucasfilm and Del Rey's credit, you know, their reaction to that was, we were like, wow, our map maker's a 16-year-old kid in Hungary, and they were like, is he the best guy for the job? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. And then they were like, well, all right, he's the map maker. Which, you know, I think some companies and some publishers probably would have been scared by that and been like, oh my God, we can't do that. But they were like, he's the best guy for the job, he's the best guy for the job. And, you know, that's a completely different world, even from, you know, when I was a young writer and journalist. So that's really fun. And so lots of DK books, which are, you know, have been enormously entertaining. I mean, even this spring we have Secret Life of Droids, which is I think there's one behind me somewhere. It's a terrific kind of kids book about, you know, droids around the galaxy. I love this. Whoever did this, I'm very grateful to them. Working hard, saving the galaxy, which is true. Do you agree? That's right. The expanded Phantom Menace visual dictionary. This was a book that I snapped up just as a reader in 1999 because I thought this is just the classic example of a beautiful, really beautiful DK book, just full of information. And David West Reynolds wrote it in 1999 and did just this terrific job, and I just love this book. And then when the 3D release came, they came to me and said, hey, would you update this? And I said, well, sure, but what does that mean? And I was glad to hear that it meant actually quite a lot. There's tons of new spreads in here, including like a cutaway view of Maul's saber, which is really cool. And the other thing we did is we went through the original book and assessed all the information and said, you know, what did David West Reynolds not know? What couldn't he know when he just had episode 1 to work with? And so we looked at that for the rest of the prequels and the Clone Wars and tried and looked at all that information, not because it wasn't true anymore, but just because, though in a couple cases that was true, but more because there was just information we didn't know, so we could have a richer, deeper picture. So that was a lot of fun to do. some upcoming stuff to tell you about quickly. The Essential Guide to Warfare, my book for Del Rey, is just out. It's really kind of Star Wars Galaxy through the lens of warfare, whether that's warship classes, whether that's army units, whether that's famous wars, famous battles, you name it. In September, Darth Maul's Shadow Conspiracy is coming out. That's from Scholastic. I'm pretty sure that's public knowledge by now. If not, sorry. But that's from Scholastic. It's adapting a story arc from season 5. So finding out what else happens to Maul in his quest for vengeance, and it's a pretty mind-blowing story. It's not mine. I just adapted it, but it's pretty amazing. So we were talking earlier about the Darth Maul, and my point of view has always been like, if you can get past the initial idea that he didn't die falling in the pit, then to my mind the story's been really cool after that. Well, I understand that some people are like, oh come on, he died. If you can just accept that he literally sort of pulled himself together and called on the Force, then I think the story's been pretty great. And what's coming up in season 5 is really amazing. That book comes out in September, I believe. And I also, I hope you'll forgive a minor plug, I have my own series called The Jupiter Pirates, which has just been picked up by HarperCollins. And the first book of that will come out in September 2013. So some things take a while. But all of this is hugely fun, and that's a little taste of what it's like being a Star Wars writer. Should we try some trivia?
Sure.
I think this is a tough room for trivia, but let's try. All right, we're going to divide this up into some kid-friendly trivia questions. Should we try that? And then some, we'll see if we can stump the grown-ups. Come on up. Anybody else back there at the crafts table? All right, let's give it a try. We'll do this one for this one for the kid-friendly one. All right, we're going to use DK's questions. This member of the Jedi Council was an awesome lightsaber fighter. He used a very rare lightsaber with a purple blade. Hands? I think you were first, yeah.
The guy who's black.
I feel like Alex Trebek. That's pretty good. I think we need a little more specific, though. I think you were next.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu, is he right?
Yes.
He is right. All right, good job. And you win a set of Galaxy cards, Series 7. All right, we're going to do some more kid ones. Don't worry. This Master Jedi trained countless Jedi Knights before battling Emperor Palpatine. Should really say Darth Sidious, and ultimately exiling himself on the planet Dagobah. There he trained young Luke Skywalker in the ways of the Force. I think he just beat you. Huh? That's a start, but not on Dagobah. But you definitely got the first part. You want to try?
Yoda.
Yoda, good job. All right, and you get sunglasses. Read more, you must. I guess that's so you don't go blind in the sun. Can you be my Vanna White? Sure. All right.
Jawa James.
All right, some more kid ones. I think your time is nigh. I sense it. All right. He was a slave on the planet Tatooine before Qui-Gon Jinn freed him and took him to Coruscant.
Anakin.
Anakin?
Anakin Stalker.
Is he right?
As a boy. Yeah.
All right. All right. I'm going to let you pick. Do you want? We should do door number 1, door number 2. Hold on.
Which is that?
Cards or toothbrush?
Toothbrush.
Toothbrush.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Good choice.
It's a lightsaber toothbrush.
Sit.
How'd that burn?
All right. Should we go harder?
Yes.
Some of those were pretty hard, though.
They were easy.
Hey, when you've been on book 2 for 8 days, nothing is easy. All right, this is a tricky one. You ready? This is kind of an intermediate question. We'll do it the way we did it at Carlsbad Library, and it almost caused a riot, which was pretty funny. This Jedi, you do these long pauses, and the tension builds. It's great. Has green skin, and all the hands go up. And he was an amphibian, and had tentacles that could sense other people's feelings underwater. Kit Fisto. Good job. And thank you for not screaming out Yoda, which is what happened. I think you win one of the cooler prizes here. One of the things I've never seen. Actually, I was just at Rancho Obi-Wan, Steve Sansweet's incredibly cool warehouse in Petaluma full of Star Wars stuff. I don't know if he has this. So you should email Steve Sansweet and say, hey Sansweet, do you have a Darth Vader head ice cube tray?
No.
None of us do now. She does. And if you want it, Steve, it's $100.
How much for the ice cubes?
That's true. Where you sell the ice cubes for like 10 cents, rush delivery.
Make them gray so they're like carbonate.
All right. Let's do a really hard one. What's our dork level here? Is it high, medium? Mine's very high, but I don't know speak for anyone else. High? This ship looks just like the Tantive 4. And it's kind of confusing what's the Tantive 4 and what's this one. What's it called?
Thunderheart.
That's right. Good job. Put me out of a job. Cards or glasses?
Give it away. Give it to someone.
All right, we're going to redistribute some cards. Let's see, we have 3 more items here.
You can always just open up one of your books and pick something out.
Ooh, that's funny. I opened it up to a random Jedi and realized I know a deep secret that if I told you...
We won't tell.
Oh, yeah. If I told you someone from Marin County would arrive and spirit me away, and that would be the end of the tour.
Like that's a real place.
All right, name 3 out of 5 of Padme's handmaidens.
Just saying episode 1 handmaidens or all handmaidens?
All.
That makes it a little easier.
You know what, let's try a different one. Did you have your hand up?
I'm gonna try
Let's give it a shot.
Sebe, Corday, and Dorme.
Yeah.
I think that works.
Cordy and Dorme are from later episodes. Yeah.
Good job.
Looking for night.
Wear them in pride. All right, let's do, since we got a lot of people here, we'll do the question that has bombed everywhere on the tour. Yes. It's such a bad idea. But let's try it anyway.
It's a bad idea. Don't do it.
You are a smart kid. You're right. But we're gonna, you know what? We're gonna do it anyway because we're among friends. We like have a net. It's not that bad. Nothing terrible will happen. I promise. All right.
What's terrible happen is this Jedi is gonna cut this house down right now.
I think we're safe.
Right now.
Yeah.
Do it right now.
We've got Boba Fett. We got stormtroopers. I can run faster than you can believe. So we're gonna be good.
Jedi dashed.
But if anything starts going wrong, you let us know. Okay? Deal? Nah.
I went away.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So if this question doesn't work, we'll crowdsource it. What the heck? 3 times. Ooh, I already messed that up. All right. 3 times in the saga, a Skywalker loses a hand to a lightsaber. What are they? You want to try it?
I know one of them. It's Count Dooku.
In what episode?
I think it's the second one. I mean, it's the one. It's the second one. Hi.
I think that's right. That's one. Are there 2 more? Yeah.
Anakin loses his hand in the third one. I mean, in the second one.
That's right.
And then he loses his arm from Obi-Wan in the third one.
Is that
And then
true?
Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
gets his hand
His
cut
other
off
arm
in
and
the
his
fifth
legs.
Blessing.
That means there are actually 4, I think. What's the last one? Right. Right. Good job, guys. That's true. I forgot about the arm in episode 3. He does lose the arm. Maybe that's why the question didn't
Cantina.
Arm and leg. Legs.
What in the Clone Wars?
Oh, we weren't counting the Clone Wars, but yeah, that's a good point. We should probably count the Clone Wars too.
How about the expanded universe?
No, then it's like 800. Where does it stop? All right, let's
Force
do
Unleashed
2
uses it.
new ones. I think we have some new. I think we have some new players in the game. Is that true? You guys ready?
Scar killer.
Okay, you want to try some trivia? All right, here we go. This Jedi Knight fought Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine on the 2nd Death Star and helped save the galaxy. And he grew up on Tatooine and had 2 droids.
Can you repeat that again?
Can I repeat that again?
Yes.
No, that was like a paragraph.
You need to talk louder.
And his sister was Princess Leia, and he flew an X-Wing. Not supposed to call it out. That's pretty good. Here you go. Wow. You gonna catch it?
Ah!
Not quite. Oh, good one. All right, one more, and then we'll go on to questions. And you guys who came late, we'll have plenty of good stuff for you. Don't worry.
So we have stuff for everybody.
There's stuff for everybody. We're equal opportunity here. Should we do a hard one or an easy one?
Easy.
Easy. Okay.
So make it not so
Let's see if they gave us anything good here. Oh, I'm not sure if this one is easy or not. Let's try it. This is from DK. So we'll blame them if it goes wrong. During the Clone Wars, this Jedi fought alongside Master Yoda on the planet Kashyyyk. She had facial tattoos that showed her accomplishment. She had pale green skin and bright blue eyes. Did you know that? Not
Probably
quite.
not yet.
That's pretty good with the tattoos, though. You're right.
Clone Wars in the series or the
All right, let's change it up. This Jedi had bright blue skin and head tails. And one thing we didn't know in the movies was that she has a French accent right out of being a server in a bistro. Anyone? Think you got it?
Ayla Secura.
Secure. Good one. All right. All right. Huge round of applause for everyone for trivia.
The one for adults.
What?
What if adults can win a prize?
Adults can win a prize. We have some.
What
I'll
if
hold
you
up
do
the
it right
prizes.
now?
Well, we're out of trivia questions. But what we'll do now is, if anybody has any general questions, fling them out, and then otherwise we will sign some books, and but there's plenty of time to chat and do other stuff there. So I don't know. Anybody?
Questions or?
Yeah, questions. Quick FAQs. I've never met George Lucas. I really want
When doing the Guide to Warfare,
to. Uh-huh.
what was the most infuriating, confusing, run through the streets naked at 3 a.m.
Wow.
topic that you came across?
Ooh, that's a good one, because there were a lot of them. All right, there were 3 of them. One of them was warship classes. That had been so contradictory and such a mess in so many different sources. And Star Wars fans who care about this stuff, those classes are actually pretty awesome, had said like horrible things to each other on Wikipedia and all the fan sites that I just didn't want to touch it. But I was like, I know it's a mess, I know it could be fixed, and if you're not going to do it in a book about warfare, why write a book about warfare? So I plunged into that, and so far actually the response to that one has been pretty good. So that was one that I was like, wow. Another one actually came up at the last celebration. Like, again, Star Wars fans are get very emotional about the idea of how many clones there were. Were there just 3 million against quintillions of battle droids? How is that possible? Were there a lot more? Can there be a number? Etc. And the same thing. Like, people got really, really angry at Karen Travis about her interpretation of that, and I was like, that sounds like it wasn't a lot of fun for Karen. But I was like, again, in a book on warfare, we're really not going to at least address that. So I went right into that one. I was a little subtle about it though, because I think where the trouble came in was giving an actual number. Like, every time you give an actual number, you're basically begging for some story to mess it up. But I did go after that one, and a little subtly, but you can see it. The third one, frankly, is that, who here has read the Dark Empire series?
Yeah.
I think it's an awesome story, but it clearly doesn't fit very well with the Thrawn trilogy or any of the other stuff. Like, that kind of forms this like arc, and then there's like this huge, crazy war in the middle of it that messes everything up, and then everything kind of goes back to the way it was. So that one is just, and this was true in the Atlas too, it's just really hard to kind of suspend your disbelief when you get to that one and be like, yeah, that all makes sense and holds together. So there you go, 3 of them. But I think we sorted them all out in warfare, or at least I hope so. Great question, thanks.
Okay, I remember my fandom, my love Star Wars, it was almost, with nothing in the early 90s, it was almost dying. Then I read Heir to the Empire. I just kind of wondered, was your reaction is like, wow, finally.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing for that is that was before the internet, really. I mean, it was just, there was like AOL boards, but that was really it. So I was living in Fresno, California. I was working for the Fresno Bee as an intern. And I was just, don't be hard on
We've seen Fresno on a map, it's all.
And I was in the mall, because before the internet, what are you going to do? Well, I can go to sleep at 5 p.m. or go to the mall, particularly in Fresno. All right, you got it. So I was at the mall, and I was just, I was in like B. Dalton, or some bookstore that I think don't think exists anymore. And there, like on the front rack, is a Star Wars book in hardcover. And I had no idea it was coming. I was like, this is absolutely amazing. I just snapped it up, went right home, and read it. And then was really, really peeved that it was another year till the next one. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. No, we really, it's a really good point that we live, as fans, we live in this Star Wars golden age. Like even then, I remember you would wait, those books were a year apart, and you would wait for Dark Empire, which was every other month for issue. So that whole story took a year. And now, on most weeks, there's some new story. Many weeks there's a new Clone Wars story that, that George Lucas himself was involved in somehow. And I mean, compare that to the absolute drought we were in later. You may love some of the stories and like some of them a little less, but this is an absolute golden age for new material and stories and books and everything else. So, I mean, it's great as a writer, certainly, but it's also really great as a fan, at least I think so.
What are some of the challenges of writing a DK style book versus a regular, more longer text format book?
They're not as big as you might think, and honestly, they're not as big as I might have thought. Like when I started off, I was very happy to learn to write books for kids because I didn't know how to do that, and it actually turned out to be a lot simpler than I thought. I mean, the thing you absolutely don't do is talk down to kids. They can sense being talked down to as much as anybody else, and they don't like it any more than anyone else does. You don't need to really, it's not so much that you need to simplify vocabulary, except for the books for the very youngest kids. It's more that, you can't do, it's not a good idea to do these crazy literary backwards constructed sentences and with like dependent clauses all over the place. It's really kind of keep things straightforward so you can tell what the context is, and then, and just be very clear in your writing. But, I mean, honestly, that is great. That's great advice for 45-year-old fans, too. I mean, a lot of that stuff is just, it's kind of writerly tricks we don't really need. I mean, keep it simple and make it clear is great advice for everybody. Beyond that, I mean, the DK books are obviously very art-heavy, and I mean, the fun thing about that is that you really do have a sense from the very beginning that you're part of a team with these, these terrific artists and writers and everybody else. So, well.
How did you get approached to do your first Star Wars book?
Well, the first thing I did was the Insider. One question I get a lot is, I love Star Wars and I love writing. How can I do what you do? And the answer to that is always that starting off writing Star Wars is not going to work, and it just can't be done. What you need to do a lot of other things first, and the first one is just to be a professional writer. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a book writer. I mean, I never was before Star Wars books, but editors, companies, anybody else, the first thing they need to know is that you're a professional. Also recommended me and put his hand up for me. So I did the same with Paul Urquhart, my writer for Warfare, and it's just be professional, be nice, don't be a diva, don't ever make someone's life harder, and then work really hard, and then you have to hope for a little luck. Maybe one more, and then we'll do, if anybody has one, we'll do. Yeah.
Do you get the pictures that you're writing about, or do they give them to you or show them to you?
It depends on the project. Like in the first Clone Wars visual guide, I'm pretty sure everything in that book came to me with the pictures in place, and I was just writing the text. In subsequent ones, I would eventually, basically map out everything that was going to be on a page myself. The middle ground is often that they prepare, a layout, a spread, and then I will look at it as the writer, and I'll often say things like, you know, this picture's not quite as good for showing this as something else, or, you know, as the writer, I can't tell what's going on in this picture, because often I'm writing to episodes that I haven't seen yet, and so I'll say, if I can't tell what's going on this, the reader's not going to know either. Or one thing that designers sometimes miss is there'll be a number of pictures telling a story over a spread, and I'll be like, they're not in the order or the layout that I really need to be able to tell the story. So often there's kind of a middle ground there where we work together. It really depends on the project. Any more? Okay. What I think we're going to do is I'm going to go take up residence at the crafts table and then just sign over there. But thank you so much for coming. And if there's any other questions, I mean, please just ask me. And if any of you guys wanted another trivia question, we'll give it a shot. Okay. Cool. All right. See you in like 45 seconds.